One of the top MLB insiders says the Mariners will indeed be interested in Tigers ace Tarik Skubal this winter. Also, we'll look at the AL West for the best trade fits for the Mariners this offseason. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Wednesday, November 5th, 2025. This is Tarik Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. We're going to kick off our division-by-division trade preview with a look at the AL West today. We'll comb through the rosters of the Angels, A's, Astros, and Rangers for potential trade fits for the M's this winter. But before we do that, we have a rumor to talk about. Mr. Olney of ESPN saying today that the Mariners will be one of the many teams interested in Tigers ace Tarik Skubal if he does wind up becoming available. And it seems like the likelihood of that happening is growing by the day. The more we hear about Skubal and the Tigers, it seems like they're at least going to listen to some trade offers on Skubal. So we've talked about this. I've said that I very much want the Mariners to be in on Skubal. We've already kind of talked about what the cost would be, or at least what we think the cost would be, what we would be comfortable trading for 1 year of Skubal. So now we have word from one of the top MLB insiders that the Mariners are going to be in on this. What do you think?
The Skubal thing is really interesting because the Tigers are stupid for like entertaining and not just paying the guy. Like, let's be clear about that. But also, like, based on what we've heard, their previous offers were to Skubal. It sounds like they have no interest in actually paying this guy. And so why would you keep a guy just to lose him in free agency? But also, you know, you've gone to the playoffs in back-to-back years. You've been eliminated in the ALDS in back-to-back years. And this is your last shot with the second best pitcher in baseball, however you want to. Why would you trade him? So it's a weird thing just in general to think about the Tarik Skubal trade, because a playoff team, and well, we don't know that it'll be this way next year, but like a kind of even field American League where there is no dominant team, and you have the best pitcher in the American League and you're going to trade him, like, why would you do that? But there are a lot of, rumors and whispers and smoke to the idea that they're willing to trade Skubal. So just starting there, that's weird. It's a weird thing to have this pop up, but as for, the Mariners' interest, good. They should be interested. Absolutely, they should be. If Skubal is available, the Mariners should be interested. It's not a guarantee that they win the World Series if they trade for Skubal, and it'll be expensive, and you're only going to get him for a year. You're not going to sign Skubal to an extension. It's just not going to happen. I don't even think you want to, quite frankly, because we're talking about, 8 years, $350 million, like something like that, for a guy who, has had a couple surgeries already. He's thrown a lot of innings over the last few years. He's going to be over 30. Like, there are some red flags there. But he is a generational pitcher. So I'm not surprised. I'm more surprised that the Tigers are entertaining trading Skubal, which by all accounts they are. I'm more surprised by that than the Mariners being interested. Now, how much are they interested in Skubal? I don't know, because that is, a couple of great prospects at minimum to go out and get 1 year of a guy. And that has just not been the Mariners' mode of operation. Mm-hmm. And so it's a very interesting topic. There are a lot of different avenues we can go down, but ultimately, at the end of the day, your goal should be to win the World Series in 2026. And does Jurangelo St. and Laz Montes help you do that? No. Does Tarik Skubal help you do that? Yes.
Yeah.
1,000%. Yes. Plus, also just keep in mind, it's not a for sure thing because there'll be a lockout, but if they keep the qualifying offer system or some version of it, you're going to get something back when Skubal signs elsewhere this winter if you trade for him during the winter. If you trade for him in the season, you get nothing. So, although the price will be lower. So, yeah, there's a lot of different, avenues we can go down on this one. But, assuming the Tigers are actually willing to trade Skubal, and it sounds like they are, the Mariners should be interested to some degree. And really the whole conversation comes down to how aggressive do you want the Mariners to be, because it is going to cost quite a bit to get even just 1 year of this guy.
Look, you have a very good rotation. One that I think is better than the one that we saw over the course of this past season because of all the injuries that they sustained and they were pitching through. You might have very well the most balanced rotation in all of baseball. Mm-hmm. That said, you don't have an absolute demon in your rotation, and that's what Tarik Skubal is. He's one of the few true aces in the game, and if you have the opportunity to go get that guy when you have World Series aspirations, you should go do that, frankly. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The one concern that I have here, though, is that while the Mariners can, just from a pure farm system standpoint, they can outbid anyone in theory, do worry about their lack of pitching prospects, high-end pitching prospects with proximity to the big leagues. Like, I'm talking about they could start opening day in a major league rotation. Cade Anderson isn't going to do that. Durangelo Sanger isn't going to do that. Ryan Sloan isn't going to do that. And we're not talking about prospects like Logan Evans and Emerson Hancock here. We're talking about guys in a much higher tier. So is that ultimately going to be the hang up? Whereas like the Red Sox have some guys that they could offer that could be in the Tigers rotation tomorrow. It's the same thing as the Duran negotiations where you just didn't have a Mick Abel. It's the same thing as the Griffin Jacks negotiations where you just didn't have a Taj Bradley. So that's the one hang up that I could see here in negotiations with the Tigers if the Mariners are going to not only be interested but aggressive in trying to acquire him. But other than that, like I've said in the past, I wouldn't trade Emerson. I wouldn't trade Anderson. But anyone other than that is on the table for me, prospect wise. Now, you might get into a situation here where Tigers go, give us 2 years of Logan Gilbert for 1 year of Tarik Skubal, which I think is an interesting conversation. I wouldn't do it, but I do think that's an interesting conversation. But
I think where this could come into play is you trade hypothetically. My hunch has always been is that if the Mariners trade one of these guys, it's going to be George Kirby.
Yep.
If they traded George Kirby to, I don't know, let's say the Mets, right? Just because. If you trade George Kirby to the Mets, well, maybe you use the package that you get for Kirby as part of your Skubal offer.
Yeah, so do you get like Jonah Tong?
Right. And then you say,
like
okay, well, so let's say you get Jonah Tong and I don't know, Brett Beatty, whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, do you then go to the Tigers and be like, okay, well, now we have Tong and now we can give you Farmello and blah, blah, blah. And so now it's basically a 3-team trade without it actually being a 3-team trade. So I think that is one possible path they could go down. They could also, as you've mentioned on the Patreon show, you could also trade one of your young prospect bats for a young arm and then take that arm and flip him to Detroit in a deal. So there are like semi 3-team deals that aren't technically 3-team deals.
My idea on that was Cole Young to Pittsburgh for Hunter Barco and then Barco to Detroit.
Mm-hmm. Right. And maybe you could do that with Harry Ford. Maybe you could do that with Cole Young. There are some possibilities there as well. So just because the Mariners don't have the pitcher right now doesn't mean they lack the ability to go get one and then flip him for Skubal. It's just there are more hoops to jump through, if the Tigers want that young pitcher. And it's not the easiest thing in the world to go out and get a young pitcher. Even if you do have the young offensive counterpart, teams typically prefer to have the arm. So it's one of those things. There are a lot of hangups here, but it is worth exploring every single one of them because Skubal could be the difference. Like if you had Skubal this year, do you win the World Series? I think you probably do.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the biggest hurdle between you and the World Series, frankly, was your rotation.
Yep.
Bryce Miller was your best guy, which, I mean, Bryce was great. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, even if the starting rotation did show up a bit more than it did, Bryce still might have been your best guy because of just how well he pitched. But, you know, considering that he was your worst starting pitcher of your five main guys over the course of the year, that was a bit of a problem. And obviously Brian Wu wasn't healthy enough to pitch out of the rotation, like to actually start a game in the playoffs. And Logan Gilbert was a disaster in the ALCS. So yeah, if you had Skubal, now obviously the Blue Jays smoked almost everyone in their path. So who knows? And obviously you beat Skubal twice, or you at least overcame Skubal twice. Mm-hmm. So who knows? But still, like, yeah, if you had Skubal in your rotation for this postseason run, I mean, I feel pretty good about the statement that you win the World Series.
How many starts did the Mariners get from their rotation this year where the starter got more than 15 outs?
I don't know.
Bryce got 6.
Oh, you're talking about the postseason run?
Yeah.
I thought you meant the whole season.
Oh, no. I mean, not as many as you would like from that either. But
yeah.
6 innings from your starter, I think maybe twice. And we saw what that did. You had to go to the bullpen more frequently. You had to, use guys 3-4 days in a row against teams that had already seen him for 3-4 days in a row. Like, those things add up. And if you have a Skubal who you feel really good can dominate in a playoff start and go 7 strong and do all that, then there's a trickle-down effect there. So Skubal's well worth the discussion. He is well worth the price that we think they're going to pay. It's just, does that particular price line up with what you have to offer? I don't know. That's the biggest hurdle to me, because I would say the biggest hurdle is the Tigers actually trading Skubal. But man, it seems like all the smoke we're seeing and all the stories we got about the disrespectful offer that the Tigers made to Skubal last winter, it all just points to a team that's like, yeah, we're ready to move on from this guy. We're going to try and cash in. So we'll see. But again, just brace yourselves. It's going to be pricey no matter what the situation is.
All right, we're going to switch gears here and comb through the AL West for the best trade fits for the Mariners this winter in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks and Doer. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season. Whether you're following the NFL, NBA, or both, there's no better time to jump in on the action. And if you haven't tried it yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere Prize Picks operates, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Man, I am super stoked about the new jeans I have arriving soon from Doer. I've heard the most amazing things about these jeans. I mean, I can't wait to wear them. Let me tell you why. Doer jeans have 5 times the stretch of traditional denim. They're antibacterial, meaning your jeans stay fresh longer so you can wear more and wash less. And it's made with Cool Max, which keeps you cool and comfortable as temperatures change. Doer also combines the classic jeans wear style with the kind of comfort and performance you get from athletic wear. So it really is the best of both worlds. And Doer are absolute pioneers of blending technical innovation with everyday clothing. They invented the original performance denim. So simply put, Doer makes the world's most comfortable pants without having to sacrifice style. Get a pair for yourself or as an amazing holiday gift. Go now to shopdoer.com/lockedonseattle. You'll get 15% off your first order. That's shopdoer.com/lockedonseattle for 15% off. Shopdoer.com/lockedonseattle. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. As always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, we have a Patreon. It's called Control the Zone, and on there we talk Mariners, Seahawks, all that good stuff. For more information, go to patreon.com/Control the Zone. Link in the description of this episode. So we are kicking off our division by division trade preview today. with a look at the AL West. We'll do the AL Central tomorrow, and then we'll work through some of the other divisions over the next few weeks. It's something that we do every single off season. We're going to start with the Athletics. Are they the Sacramento Athletics now? Or are they just still the Athletics? I know they're getting a Sacramento jersey. We'll just go with the Athletics. Yeah. Can't imagine that this team is going to be looking to trade off from their roster that much. This seems like a team that is going to start to build towards competing again. The A's do that thing where, like, for 3 to 4 years they're competitive, then for 3 to 4 years they're non-competitive, and now it seems like they're back on that upward swing into being competitive again.
It's the A cycle, and it usually culminates with them going all in on 1 year, and then they lose in the first round, and then they just sell off everybody. Like, remember when they traded like 6 years of Luzardo for 2 months of Marte,
Starling Marte,
they missed the playoffs, and then they traded Olsen and Murphy in that winter. They do it. It's usually a 5-year cycle. 5 years, 4 years, they're good. 1 year, they're great, potentially World Series caliber. They lose. They trade everybody away, and then they start the cycle over again. 5 years, they're bad, or 3 years, they're bad. 2 years, they're they're on the upswing, and that appears to be where they're at right now in their cycle. So,
yeah. So I don't know if there's anyone outside of the bullpen that you want to talk about. Is there?
Yes.
Okay. Brent Rooker.
Yep. 100% Brent Rooker.
Yeah.
I would call the A's like every Monday until the end of Brent Rooker's contract, or until he sucks, and just be like, just checking in, Brent, maybe. Okay. But also, it doesn't really fit all that well, just based on where the Mariners are at. But I have always been intrigued by JJ Bleday, who is coming off of a really bad year this year. Got sent down, got demoted. But he was really good in 2024. He can play all 3 outfield spots. He's a left-handed hitter. He's an athlete, which is something I would like more of in this organization. I think he's only supposed to make about $3 million. It's one of those lottery tickets that you stick in the corner outfield and you see if it's better than Robles or Rayleigh or Canzone.
He also had a solid second half. Hit 252, 306, 495, 115 WRC plus. Now, he did strike out 30.5% of the time, though. So
right. So again, it's not a perfect player, but he is a player who I would rather take a shot on him rebounding than like Victor Robles. Would I rather take a shot on him than like Luke Rayleigh? Similar, I would say. So again, it's not the cleanest fit in the world, but I like Bleday as a player, and I think Seattle can get more out of him. So I would just keep an eye on that. But other than that, no, maybe some kind of challenge trade for Zach Geloff. But I just pretty much roll with Cole Young if you're interested in Geloff, I think. So there's not a ton there offensively, but Bleday is somebody I would, maybe if I can get him cheap enough. And again, I would just be constantly asking about Brent Rooker. Yeah, I know he signed the extension, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't matter.
Yeah. So I feel like if you're going to make a trade with the A's this offseason, it's going to be for a bullpen arm. Like if you're getting an actual major league piece from them, it's for a bullpen arm. The guy that I really like is Justin Sterner. We saw him a few times, especially early on in a couple of those earlier A's Mariners series. You go to his Baseball Savant page, a lot of red. It's a 4-seamer, it's a sweeper, it's a cutter. Sweeper has generated a 46.4% whiff rate last year. So I'm interested in that profile. I think the Mariners would also be pretty interested in that profile. So he's the guy that stands out for me in this bullpen. Anyone else?
No, not really. I like Luis Severino. I think he would be an incredible fit for the Mariners in the ballpark. But he's making Luis Castillo money, and so you trade Luis Castillo and not save any money and trade for Severino. Just a little too messy for me. But no, there's not a ton on Oakland or the A's that I think is likely to be moved that I would have interest in as a Mariners fan. Again, there's a couple, Bleday and Geloff, if you're kind of looking for lottery tickets. And then Sterner is kind of the big guy out of that bullpen. And then Severino, I guess there's like a 1 in 1,000 shot that the offseason goes down a very particular path where I would be interested in trading for Severino, who I'm sure wants out of Sacramento, and I'm sure Sacramento wants out of Luis Severino in that deal. So no, not a ton for the A's, which is going to be a theme for, I assume, the next team we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, the other guy in the bullpen that I would just mention here, I don't think the A's would be willing to move on from him, but former Mariners prospect, they got him in the Roenis Elias deal with the Nationals a long time ago, Elvis Alvarado. He finally made his way to the bigs, and he looked pretty good. He throws gas, and he generated a 37% whiff rate on his four-seamer and a 41% whiff rate on his slider last year in his cup of coffee in the bigs, so
yeah,
I don't know if they're open to it. I would be super down to take a shot on Alvarado.
Sure.
All right. So who did you want to talk about next?
I thought the Astros.
Yeah. All right. Let's do it. Let's talk about the Astros. So obviously this is a team that's going to look to retool to, go back after its AL West crown. Now you're getting chased by the Astros after you've chased them for so long, which is it's nice. It's a nice reversal of roles here. Can't imagine that the Mariners and the Astros are going to line up on most things here, though.
No, they've traded in the past, but I don't think they've made a trade since the Graveman trade. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the last one. It's been a while. I don't think the front offices wouldn't make trades with each other if there was a good fit. But looking at this roster, it's not a lot of good fits. Most of the guys in the bullpen are making serious money. The ones who aren't, Houston's not going to trade to you. So the bullpen's kind of out. You kind of look at, obviously they're not trading Altuve. They're not trading Pena. You're not trading for Correa. You probably don't want that contract anyways. Jordan's out. So yeah, the rotation, the Astros kind of need to keep their rotation arms because half of them are going to end up getting Tommy John, and it's fine. They'll replace them with somebody better because that's just what the Astros do. But when you really look at it, this roster, you kind of go, is there anything that the Mariners could use? And yeah, like Ramon Urias, maybe coming off the bench, kind of replacing Dylan Moore. Yeah, but even he's going to make $4.5 million. I mean, it's not bad, but like whatever. You're probably not getting Mauricio Dubon. Jesus Sanchez is just Luke Raley, but more expensive, so that's not really a fit there. Hayden Wesneski would be pretty cool. I like him, but
when's he going to be healthy?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know when he's going to be healthy. And then it's like it's pretty much it. I mean, Chaz McCormick, but he was just put on release waivers, so you don't have to make a trade for him. And he's been pretty bad for the last couple of years, and he's going to make $3 million as kind of that fourth outfield type. So, yeah, I just don't see a lot with the Astros. It makes a lot of sense. Some bench players, maybe, but you kind of go through the fits and what the Mariners need and what the Astros need. I don't see it.
Yeah. What I'm most curious to see here, and this doesn't pertain to the Mariners, though, is just how this whole Paredes, Correa, Altuve, Jordan thing works out. Like right now, Roster Resource has Paredes as the full-time DH and Jordan playing left field. Like, okay, in Houston with the Crawford boxes, you can make that work, I guess. But anywhere else, like how is that going to work? It feels like one of those guys is going to have to be on the bench, right?
Yeah, I mean, Jordan and Altuve should be DHing, like the both of them. Yeah. But obviously only one person can, and Paredes is probably the best defender of the three. But obviously they're not going to, bench Correa. They just traded for him. So, yeah, that's kind of an interesting, situation they have to navigate. I don't think obviously Jordan and Altuve aren't going anywhere. So it would be Paredes would be the odd man out, but they're not going to trade you Paredes. And even if they did, you want to pay a premium for a guy who's a kind of weird ballpark fit.
Yeah, no, in general, though, I kind of wonder if they do trade Paredes somewhere.
Yeah, I could see it.
All right, we're going to look at the Rangers and the Angels to wrap things up here on our AL West trade preview in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Before we get back into our AL West trade preview, gone too long without mentioning the fact that Jorge Polanco has officially declined his player option. We were all wondering what was taking so long because it was a pretty obvious decision, it seemed, for him to decline the option, given the year that he just had. We were planning on actually making that part of our show today, talking about like, hey, are they maybe, working on an extension behind the scenes or something like that? And then right before we hit record, boom, John Heyman tweets, yeah, Polanco's declining his option. So there you go. Polo is officially a free agent. The Mariners, I'm sure, are going to have a lot of interest in bringing him back, just like Josh Naylor, maybe Eugenio Suarez to a certain degree, but we've talked about that. It's Naylor and then Polo, and then I think a pretty large gap before anyone else. But yeah, there you go. So everyone we expected to be a free agent for the Mariners is a free agent now, and they can freely negotiate with other teams starting tomorrow, I believe. So yeah. All right. Let's wrap things up here on our AL West trade preview with the Angels and the Rangers, starting with the Angels. And this is, probably a pointless thing to do here because the Mariners and the Angels haven't traded with one another since Jerry Dipoto landed in Seattle. But for the sake of the exercise, we will come through this roster, talk about some guys that we like. I think we should start with Taylor Ward. Because he's been our guy. He's been specifically your guy, but I also really like him for years now.
He's Mitch Haniger.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But still good at baseball.
Yeah, not current day Mitch Haniger. He's like 2019 Mitch Haniger.
Yeah.
Potentially 2021 Mitch Haniger. Not 2018 Mitch Haniger, which it was my favorite Mitch Haniger, but whatever. Yeah, the frustrating thing about the Angels is that they make a ton of sense for the Mariners. And the Mariners actually make a ton of sense for the Angels. The Angels need to rebuild a farm system. The Mariners have the pieces to help with that. The Angels, or the Mariners probably want to trade Luis Castillo, but they need a team who's willing to eat a chunk of the contract and would, value Castillo. And the Angels certainly help with that. Like, the Angels are a team that needs starting pitching. They're going to spend in free agency. We know this. They're going to spend stupidly, but they're going to spend in free agency anyways. And some kind of Luis Castillo for Taylor Ward swap makes a ton of sense for both teams. And the Angels won't even engage with the Mariners. Now, maybe that changes. I don't know. Manassian's, in the last year of his deal, and they've made it clear that this doesn't go well. You're getting fired by the fact that they gave their manager a 1-year contract. Like, dumpster fire organization. We'll keep dunking on them forever. But like Taylor Ward for Luis Castillo, at least a package centered around that, or maybe just that straight up, makes so much sense for both teams. Like, it's nuts how much sense it makes. And yet we can't even really discuss it all that much. Like, we can't even talk about it in our offseason plan prep because we just have to kind of say, like, yeah, no trades with the Angels.
Yeah.
And there are other guys on this roster who make sense for the Mariners too, but Ward is the guy. Like, if you put Taylor Ward in right field with Randy in left and Julio in center, that's one of the best outfields in baseball. It's a ton of home runs. Is there swing and miss? Sure. Is Ward, an on-base guy? No, not really. Is Ward gonna, hit for a decent average, hit 25 homers, play decent enough defense in a corner? And is he going to lengthen your lineup? Yes. And you only need him for 1 year. That's all he's got left on his contract. If you swapped him for Luis Castillo, you would save about $10 million this year, and then obviously the 24 next year. The Angels need starting pitching. They need innings eaters. They need veterans. And Luis Castillo, by the way, would fit well in that ballpark because that ballpark is a pitcher's park, especially at night. Yeah, it all makes so much sense. And the Angels probably won't even consider it just because Jerry Dipoto is the one calling them, and that sucks.
Yeah. There's some guys in the bullpen that I kind of like. Reed Detmers is probably going back into their rotation, but Detmers is someone that I would really like for the Mariners bullpen.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind giving him a shot in the rotation for a year.
You and I both really liked Robert Stevenson when he was a free agent, and then he got hurt. And then he landed on the IL again at the end of the season with right elbow inflammation. So yikes. Yeah. But he was really good in his time with the Rays, and we were all about that. I don't know, maybe like if they did a Castillo deal and money needed to be swapped, maybe Stevenson could be that guy.
Also, Travis d'Arnaud would be a guy to swap salaries with in the Castillo deal. He wasn't good last year, but he's been a very good backup catcher, one of the best backup catchers in baseball. More of a 1B type of guy. And you're losing Garver, and if you were to trade Harry Ford, you would need a guy, and d'Arnaud's pretty decent bounce back candidate who you feel comfortable starting games. Like there are a lot of, even Joe Adell to a certain extent makes some sense for the Mariners as well. So there are lots of options here. Unfortunately, they're hidden behind the wall of stupidity that is the Angels ownership.
Yeah. Joe Adell had such a weird year. Like he finally broke out kind of, but he was also only a 1.2 F4 player. He was a bad defender. He got on base at a sub 300 clip. Like, but he also had 37 bombs. Like, weird year for Joe Adell. All right. Let's look at the Rangers here. This is the most intriguing team to me, especially because it looks like they might be shedding payroll. There's some rumblings about that going around. Could they actually trade Marcus Semien, or at least look to try and trade Marcus Semien this offseason? Not to the Mariners, by the way. That's just in general. Could they look to trade Corey Seager? Maybe not to the Mariners, obviously, but in general, could they?
Would be hilarious if they did, though.
Maybe do that. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, this is a team that might go through a bit of turnover this offseason. Adolis Garcia is all but guaranteed to get non-tendered. Jake Berger might be done after 1 year in Texas. So some changes could be incoming here. Josh Young is another guy that they might just move on from.
That's the guy to watch.
Yeah, and I think that's the guy that we should start with here for specifically the Mariners. Now, the Mariners and the Rangers haven't made too many trades, but we know that they talked to one another about Nathaniel Lowe deal last year. The Mariners were apparently pretty aggressive on that before Lowe wound up getting traded to Washington. So they've talked. So I don't know. Maybe they finally push something across the finish line this year, and maybe it's for Josh Young. Maybe it's taking a shot on him.
Young doesn't sound like a guy, Young doesn't sound like a guy who you would trade if you're trying to cut salary, but it's not just a salary with him. He's going to make about $3 million ARB1 this year. But the Rangers are reportedly, I don't want to say fed up, but like they're kind of disenchanted with Josh Young. They kind of are done with that experiment. He keeps on getting hurt and all that. And it's been pretty well thrown out there that like, they would consider moving on from him and going a different direction at third base. They also have, kind of the emergence, so to speak, of Josh Smith, who can certainly play third base for them. Josh Smith would be an awesome ad for the Mariners. I don't think he's actually one of the guys they would trade, so not going to really spend much time talking about him. But the Mariners don't have a third baseman right now. Young has shown that he can be a productive big leaguer in spurts in his big league career so far. And there's certainly upside with this play. So I think he is kind of a really, ideal fit. And I don't know what it would cost. It's kind of a tricky situation. It's a 3-year of club control, but it's a guy who's been hurt a lot. It's a guy whose production has been inconsistent, let's say. So yeah, it's kind of a tricky trade proposition. I don't think, again, they're salary dumping $3 million really doesn't do much for you. So I don't think you're going to get quite a discount there, but I also don't know, let me just throw this out there, Ty, and this is just off the top of my head. Maybe I'm forgetting something. I don't know. Would you trade Harry Ford for 3 years of Josh Young?
Nah.
Would you trade Cole Young?
No.
Would you trade Michael Arroyo?
No.
Then you're not getting.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I think I'm good on that.
Yeah, it's the on base that'll kill you. That's the one skill that I'm most worried about.
Yeah, it's the injuries. Yeah, if I'm able to take a flyer on him, if I'm able to get him for Teddy McGraw and another dude, sure.
What if you get him for Ty Pete?
Yeah.
Ty Pete and Bizzardo.
Not Bizzardo, no.
Ty doesn't want Josh Young. That's the long and the short of it, which is fine.
Yeah.
But that's the guy that jumps out to me.
Yeah. So outside of Young, I mean, there's some guys in the bullpen. Would they trade Robert Garcia?
Yeah, because it's kind of a guy I was thinking.
Yeah, because if so, I'd be down. Josh Spores coming off of the injury that he is. I mean, he was pretty good before he got hurt.
The tricky thing with the Rangers is that most of their really interesting guys are all free agents.
Yeah.
Maton, Coulomb, Armstrong.
Yeah.
They're all free agents. And so
Jonah Heim's probably going to get non-tendered, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I'd be interested in him as a backup option once he hits free agency. Yeah.
I mean, you're probably, because they want to cut payroll, there's probably not a way for you to trade for Heim and just tender him a contract because you don't want to spend $6 million on a backup catcher. Yeah. Especially when you have Harry Ford still. So yeah. Jacob Webb put up a career year if he doesn't have to face the Mariners. Yeah. So I'll throw this out there. It's there's payroll wise, if they want to dump payroll, they're going to clear up $18 million just by non-tendering Heim and Garcia. So that should help. But payroll wise, there's only really one name I see that makes some sense for Seattle. And it doesn't even make sense right now, but he could. It's Nathan Eovaldi.
Yeah.
So if the Mariners trade Luis Castillo, Eovaldi would be near at the top of my list for a replacement. Now, there's age concerns, there's injury concerns. He's also going to eat up pretty much all of the money you saved. Actually, I think he costs a little more than Castillo.
He's making 25.
Yeah. So, but the stuff is so good. He's a really good arm. I trust him. He would be an upgrade. I'd pay a little bit extra to have Eovaldi, but again, I just don't think
he might be the best pitcher in the Mariners rotation if he's healthy.
Yeah. So again, I don't see that as very likely at all, but I think Josh Young is interesting. I think Ezekiel Duran, I know he hasn't been good for a minute, but he can play a lot of spots. He's still young. He's a right-handed hitter. You need that platoon guy off the bench. It could be him, or that utility guy off the bench. It could be him. Webb is a guy, again, Garcia and Heim, once they're non-tendered, is more of my speed than trading for them. Jake Berger, possibly a guy that you could trade for, but we know why the Mariners didn't really go. We saw what it would have cost the Mariners last winter, and we didn't hear for even a second that the Mariners sniffed around on Jake Berger. So that I think we know how they feel about him. And then I'll just throw this name out there. Ham Swaggerty reunion.
Yeah. Yeah, he is under contract for one more year with them.
Utility guy, bring some speed. Yeah. Right-handed hitter. That's where you want to use them, is against lefties. Maybe. But
Yeah.
it does feel like a lot of what the Rangers have to offer you, you could just wait until tomorrow and get them for free, So,
Yeah.
well, not tomorrow, but, whenever the non-tender is.
Yeah.
So
When is that deadline?
I think it's like November 19th.
He tendered.
They have to, I don't know.
Let me look that up. But yeah, so not a lot really in the ALS. I mean, mostly because like two of the teams you just don't really line up well with, specifically because of where they are right now and their roster build, and then one because you literally have never traded with them before. So really it's the Rangers, and the Rangers just don't have a ton. There's some guys like we talked about.
Contract, if Nathan, if Coulomb, if those guys were all under contract still, we'd have a lot to talk about, but they're not. So
the non-tender deadline is November 21st.
Okay.
So
about 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast with Colby, Patnode. I'm Tarik Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Tarik Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.